then not be staring at my computer screen, but my TV. Great. Fire away with whatever cute questions you have. I'll try and answer it to the best of my ability.
Brilliant. So we've taken the last couple of weeks to get some questions from our students. And I've got some of them here, and at the end, we can open it up and see if there are any others if we have any time. So the first question comes from
I'm listening.
From a dancer actually, who's in our year 2 of training with us, and her name is Laura Hogg. And she says, did your childhood home inspire the person you have become today?
The answer to that, well, the short answer to that is yes. The long answer to that is yes.
So you're from here, aren't you?
I'm from Southall. I was born in Hillingdon, born at Hillingdon Hospital. And I'm a Southall. I can see Geraldine. Are you a Hillingdon Hospital too? Whoop, whoop. Come on. And and then I grew up in Southall all of my life. In fact, my parental home that my parents have passed is still in Southall, and I was there on Sunday, visiting my sister. My brother worked in HR at Hillingdon Hospital. My mother worked at Hillingdon Hospital. It's like, that's right, West London in the house.
And when you were growing up, and I know you went to performing arts in Southall as well. What did you aspire to at that young age? Did you ever think that you would be directed to the young people at that age? What did you think you were going to do?
Oh no! In those days, it wasn't even probable. I mean, no, it wasn't even possible. Might as well probable that someone of my ethnicity and my class background would be running one of the the premier theatres in the world. Absolutely not. But I did dream to be a singer, and from about the age of 7, I was just like, the performing arts is for me. And I only ever wanted. That's really what I wanted to do. I've only ever had one dream. And that's to be working in the world that I work in now, in different guises. At first, I wanted to be a singer. Then I wanted to be a singer-songwriter, and then I was a writer, and I was an actor, and then an artistic director and a producer, and then But this quintessentially has been the only thing I've ever really wanted to do.
You were a singer, though.
Yeah, I was.
A recorded artist, right?
I was a recording artist, indeed. But actually, when I think about that, and I will say this for the young people. Sometimes I say young people, as adults. So the hell am I talking about young people? I use like 14. That sometimes, your initial dream is not always the dream that will come true. And it's really hard also when you've dedicated your life. I dedicated my life, the first 25 years of my life, let's say -7. At 7, I knew I wanted to be a singer, and I dedicated everything about me towards that dream. But actually, I had recording deals with Atlantic, I had recording deals with Sony, that by the time I got to 25 and I realized it wasn't going to happen in the way that I thought it was going to happen, my heart was broken. And sometimes people ask me, what would I say to my younger self from where I am now? And I would say, trust in yourself. Sounds really, really naff until you actually know in your heart how down, how depressed, how heavy it was to see your dream disappear or not achieve your dream, not knowing that actually there are other dreams just around the corner.
I think that's something our students can really equate to at the moment, lockdown. And dreams away from you.
It's hard. It's hard. And there are no words either. It's the truth. when you feel your dreams slipping away or not able to achieve your potential in the way that you know you can. And then you look at others on the TV or on YouTube and you go, but they're crap. How did they break through and I didn't? How's their shit working and my shit ain't? It don't make no sense. And it's really, really hard. And you got to find the mechanisms by which to protect your mental health and protect your dreams and protect yourself from the vagaries of the unfairness of the world. And the only way to do that is just to make sure that you are at your best at all times. A friend of mine once said, he was an actor, and he was going to become an actor, and his father was an actor. And he said, Dad, what advice would you give me? And he said, son, there are 1,000 reasons why you may not get a job. Just don't let your acting be one of them. And I say that to everyone in everything. If you're a playwright, there's 1,000 reasons why your play might not be produced. Just don't let your writing be one of them. And you can move through every profession. Your responsibility is keeping your tool as sharp as humanly possible. Your responsibility to yourself is to make sure that and this was the best advice ever given to me. I was 19 years old, and I was doing a play in America, and I was playing the lead. And the most powerful black man in Washington at the time was a brother called Dr. Rolock. He came to see the play, and he invited me. He was running a thing called the United Black Fund. And he invited me to his office on the top floor of the blah, blah, blah. And he said to me, son, so what are you going to do with your life? I was like, what are you talking about? I'm 19. I'm acting. I'm in America. I'm being called into the most powerful man's house in America. What are you doing? What am I doing in my life? I'm here. And he was like, no, what are you doing about your education? Because when the plane to the aircraft opens, don't be the guy that has to run home and pack. What equipment have you got in your suitcase here and now? Have you got your rucksack on so that when the door to opportunity gets ready to open and fly, you can just step the hell in? Best advice I was ever given. Keep yourself sharp, no matter what else is going on around you.
That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. I've got another question from an aspiring writer. James, I want to give away.
What up, James?
Since you've written plays over the years, what inspires you? Where do you find that?
That's always a really hard thing to answer. So I'm a really political being, right, with a big P and a small p. So I love politics, and there is no end of inspiration to how you can use your art to serve. My brilliant mother said, if you serve yourself, you serve family. If you serve family, you serve community. If you serve community, you serve nation. And sometimes when you serve nation, you serve the world. I never wake up in the morning and go, hey, I'm going to serve the world. But I do wake up in the morning and I go, how can I serve myself, my family, and my community through my art? So my inspiration often is, what's wrong with the world? And how can I write something that can incrementally make it better? I love history. I love politics. I love people. I throw those into the mix with a little bit of Radio 4 in the morning, the Today program, and a lot of my inspiration arrives.
Brilliant. Another question. Who is how did you get into directing? You knew as an actor, but how did you then get into directing?
So I describe myself, if I must, as someone who has a restless curiosity. Others might call it impatience. But when I was an actor, I was always waiting. Oh, I could hear myself back then. Sorry.
Sean T, can you mute yourself?
Great. I can't hear myself back now. Great. So when I was an actor, I was always waiting for the plays to come in that said the thing that I wanted it to say. And I got bored of that. By nature, I believe in self-determination. So after getting bored of that, I then became a writer. And as a writer, I then got really bored of waiting at the time for white directors to direct my work. And because it was deemed at that point, because my plays were on a lot of the major theatres, that there weren't a lot of black directors who were able to operate at that level. So I had to wait for white directors to come and do it. And actually, then there was one director who absolutely slaughtered one of my plays. And then I was a bit like, yo, I need to learn to do this shit. Now, I was very fortunate. And I was very fortunate because I'm very privileged. Because I was a TV actor at the time, so I was quite liquid. I was able to go and buy a complete library about how to direct and find the time to read it. I was connected in terms of a network, so I was able to ask directors if I could go into their rehearsal rooms and watch them and assist and have conversations with them about their work. And so actually I went on a speed dial course of how to direct. So over a period of 2 years, I kind of deeply embedded myself in learning the tools of directing. And then I was fortunate enough to be asked to go and direct a play actually in the United States, a theatre that I'd later come and take over. I was invited to do that. And then I learned in the doing. So that's really how I taught myself, a combination of privilege, knowledge, and self-education.
Your time at Baltimore was really crucial. It was a really important time.
Yeah, and you slightly cut out there, but I heard your time at Baltimore was important, and let me just say, yeah, it absolutely was. I went there first of all as a playwright, and they produced 2 of my plays, and as I said, and I directed a play, and I was an associate there, and then when the previous artistic director left, she said, you should throw your hat in the ring, and so I did. And then I got the gig, and I learned so much. It put absolute muscle on my brain. The first thing I learned was, in this country, the word community means something different to what it means in the United States. In this country, the word community often has a prefix: the black community, the gay community, the etc. And there, being an artistic director of a theatre meant I had to look after the community. That was everyone. The interlocking people that create a community. And so actually I learned that as a curator to want to serve the community. And that was huge. And it just so happened that the community then was going through hell. By the time we got to 2014, I've been there 3 years. We were someone's unmuted, sorry.
It's a ban. Can you mute yourself?
And yeah, and by the time I got to, but by the time I got into my stride there, we were in the first Black Lives Matter demonstration. Freddie Gray had been killed in Baltimore, and the city erupted. And I was in the middle of rehearsing a Bob Marley musical, and we were in curfew, and there were people. I mean, outside my theater, there were M16s, or the equivalent of huge machine guns, and helicopters, and riot police, and I learned how to use the art that we were producing at the theater to attempt some healing in the community. So I learned huge amounts.
I mean, I think this next question connects with that. and this is again from James. Race has obviously had a big impact on your life and your career. But how does it subject filter through the work that you do?
You need to say that it's echoing through Kwame's mic. That's Nathan. All right, let one second. Can you ask the question again one more time? And I'm going to switch off my mic and see if the echo happens.
So again, this is from James, and he asks the question: race has obviously played a big role and big impact in your life and your career, and especially your writing, I think, too. How is the subject of race, and I think you've touched on it already with mentioning Black Lives Matter and your work in Baltimore, but how does that filter through into the work that you do? And how big a topic is it in the work you do? Where is it on that sort of, where is it on the scale of importance, I guess, is what he's asking.
It's a very good question, and thank you for reminding me. Actually, sometimes on Google, this does happen when I'm looking at it back off my TV screen. Am I echoing, or are you okay?
No, you're great.
Right,
no, you're
great.
great.
So, how big is race? How big is race? A question. It's a really hard question to answer. And please don't think that I'm being facetious, but and I'm not, because it's a very good question. But it's a little like asking a woman, how important is being a woman to your work? And some might answer, it's not. I'm just a writer. I happen to think that I don't know how to distinguish or how to separate Kwame as a male, Kwame as a black male, Kwame as a black male in the context of first world systemic racism, Kwame as a man who grew up in a brilliant West Indian home, Kwame as a father. I don't know how to separate those things. And I can't. So even to answer to race is like, well, if I'm writing, I was really fortunate that I directed a thing called the World Festival of Black Arts and Culture in Senegal in 2010. 52 countries, all the African countries and Brazil and the countries who had black populations in Europe. It was a 50 million festival, and it was like the Olympics. And I directed the opening ceremony, 500 actors on the stage of a stadium. Now in Senegal, race, if I go, hey, I'm here to talk about race, they'll go, well, we're all Africans, so what's race got to do with it? Because they're in the majority. So to only define myself narrowly through race would be to geographically limit myself. Because race is a construct, and it is a construct that is particularly pertinent in the West, but is less pertinent in other places in the world. So to only define myself in that way would be limiting. But to somehow not think that being a diasporic African, being an internationalist, because I'm a diasporic African, doesn't feed into every part of my work would be equally reductive. So I'm sorry that doesn't answer the question in a direct way. It is to say that, the short answer would be, I can't divorce it from anything. I am the sum total of my parts.
Great. Next question. So, artistic director of the Young Vic, huge job. Part of that job, or well, perhaps you could tell us how much of a part of the job, is putting together programs of work, seasons of work, and selecting what work is to be performed at the theatre. And you can tell what's coming here, because we've got aspiring writers all over the place here, right? Is that what's the selection process like? What are you looking for in a piece of work when you're putting programs of work together? And do you like to have similar plays, or is variation important to you?
Great question. So selection process. What am I looking for? I'm amid the process of converting my theatre from a theatre that was a director's theatre that was really famous for doing modern takes on ancient classics to producing new plays. That's a huge pivot. There was not the infrastructure in my theatre to actually do new plays. And so I started an artistic team that basically I don't take submissions or naked submissions because I don't have the infrastructure just yet. But if an agent or someone that I know comes to me and says, hey, you should read this play, we read it as a group, we discuss it, and then ultimately, if it really moves me in that way, then I try to produce it. Try being the operative word. What am I looking for? I am looking for only one thing. Technical expertise is great, but a script that is technically excellent, is grammatically beautiful, and is laid out via final draft, but does not have a voice, will not get through. The thing that will always grab the eye of and the ear of any artistic director is, who are you in this play? What is your unique vision of the world? What is your take on the characters that you are putting in front of us? And ultimately, what is the aim of this take? All of those things add up to a writer's voice. What is your voice? I'm looking for unique, heartfelt, clear voices. And then we can work on it. You know, if the play doesn't quite 100% work, but those things are there, well, we have dramaturgs that can help beat that up. That happened in my career. We have directors that can help shape. But ultimately, it's about you. It's about your voice. What's your unique selling point?
Great, thank you. I'm going to chuck a couple of questions at you, if I may. This is from Joyce, one of our new students here at Praxis, and she's in year one of her training with us. She's asking you: do you have any regrets? Do you regret any decision, and particularly one decision that you regret in the industry? And I think this is a really interesting one because I know how much family means to you. How did your family react when you decided to do this sort of work, when you wanted to go into acting and into theatre? How was the family support?
My family support was magnificent. I know I'm very, very, very blessed, and evidently it's clear because my mother worked 3 jobs, including Hillingdon Hospital, in order to send me and my brothers and sisters to fee-paying schools to help us fulfill our potentials. So my support at home was absolutely second to none and was brilliant. What do I regret? You know, this is always a hard question because the way my brain works, I tend to eject stuff out of my brain to enable me to keep my kind of zest for lifelong learning. If I've done something wrong, I'll deal with it there and then, or deal with it the best I can, and then I'll try to not inhale. Then I'll try to let it go. So it's always really hard. I was asked this the other day. I said, "What's the worst decision you've ever made? And it's really hard." But I think I'll tell you this very quick story. I think I live in a world of I don't believe in woulda, coulda, shouldas. I literally don't. I never want to say to myself, I wish I hadn't done that. If only I'd have done that. If only I had, because woulda, coulda, shoulda will send you mad. Because you'll only blame yourself, and there's no way out of that cycle of blaming yourself. When actually a system, for instance, you know, art in Great Britain is systemically racist. There are millions of artists who could have been artistic directors before me. There are millions of people who could have survived. Actually, the system broke them down, but without an analysis of the system, they've just turned it back and said, oh, I didn't, if only I'd have done better at that audition. If only I had studied more. If only I had, and then you blame it on yourself and the system gets off the hook. So I do not believe in coulda, woulda, shouldas. And one time I was in America. It was the very first script that I'd written. And I went to America to try and sell it. And it was a disaster. Like no one would see me. It was just terrible. And I remember there was a storm one day. I was so depressed that I got soaked to my underpants. My underpants were wet. And I went into a cinema and I just watched 3 films in a row. And I felt sorry for myself, and I was literally in tears, and my underpants hasn't dried. So I remember like going, and I sat in the mall. I got something to eat, some kind of cheap ass food that was bad for me. And directly behind me, and I do mean like sat here, I turned around and I saw it was the film director, Ron Howard. And I went, oh my God, Ron Howard. Maybe that's what all of this was, just to bring me here right now. He's the most famous director in Hollywood. And if I just have to talk to him, right? Because this is it. And I got really scared. And I went, what if he rejects me? What if he doesn't speak to me? What if he hates my script? What if he, and then the bravest person that I knew at the time was my cousin, Rodney. And I went, what would Rodney do? Rodney would stand up and Rodney would introduce himself. Don't do coulda, woulda, shoulda. And so I got up and I turned literally around. I said, hello, Mr. Howard. My name is Kwame Kwei Armah, and his wife put her hand in my face and went, step away from Mr. Howard right now. And I went, oh, right. Well, I just wanted to see if she said, step away. And I was like, okay. I just wondered if maybe there was his assistant. She said, do you want me to call the police? You need to move. And I went, oh, okay. And remember, going back to where I came from was literally the seat behind him. And I just walked back and I sat down and my wet pants squished and I went, oh. I tell that story, albeit disappointing, because had I not got up and attempted to speak to Ron Howard, I might have been sitting where I am now going, if only I had spoken to Ron Howard, I may now have been a Hollywood star. My movies might now have been made. But I did. And that door just wasn't the door for me at that time. But at least I know that I can't blame myself. I did everything that I could. Again, there are 1,000 reasons why you may not get a job. Just don't let your acting, your writing, your insecurities be one of them.
I'd like to ask a question on my own.
Sorry.
You've been kind enough to become our patron, and I know how much it means to both the students here and the staff. What is it about connecting with young people, especially young performers, that really makes you want to make these types of connections with us? What is it about that for you?
Well, truth be told, Robert, it was your brilliant advocacy that made me say yes. because I am blessed to often be asked to be to get involved in this way, and my schedule doesn't always allow it. However, your brilliant advocacy, I say again, of and you only had to say it once, bruv. This is Southall, Hayes, Uxbridge, and that made me go, yo, I need to kick other stuff out the way and at least make sure that I'm available to you and your students. So that's number one. And number two is I'm in the legacy business, y'all. I'm an old man now. I don't like saying it, but I'm in the business where my joy is in being uncle, is in knowing that there are some young people out there who are going to take art to a different place, a place I didn't even imagine. And sometimes they may just need a word. They may just need a session where you point something out. And I want to be there to be able to do it because I'm being fed by young people. And some of the experiences I have had, my hope is that in the right context, that it can help unlock something that may have been locked.
Thank you. So I think the way that we'll go forward on this for the last we've got about 15 minutes left of this, if that's okay, Kwame, with you, is we'll open it up. So I think the easiest way to do this is use your hand, raise your hand button, and I'll have a look and see if I can see who's doing that. So if anybody's got a question for Kwame, then please raise your hand. Okay, who is that now? Oh my gosh, I can't see. Thomas, thank you.
Hello, Kwame. I'm Tomas. I'm Portuguese. I'm not from Southall or Hayes, so apologies. But
yeah, you're right, son. I'm not even going to speak to you now.
No, but being an aspiring actor or a theater maker, and especially now that I'm starting, and I'm assuming also my peers starting to going to uni or drama schools or whatever, it makes us start thinking about like, what do we want to do? If it's just acting, directing, or just like yourself, try to inspire other people. And me being from Portugal, and I remember watching your documentary back in, I think it was, what was it, September, October? I don't remember when. Seeing how you influenced, just how you said, your community, and going to the theater and enjoying the arts, and Portugal being a place where the arts aren't really that supported. I was thinking one day that one day I would hope to be able to bring art and to inspire the community that support it more. I don't know if you have any advice on how to go about it. Obviously, I'm in the beginning of my hopefully career, but I don't know if there's anything that you'd advise me on doing.
Great. First of all, I don't really believe in advice, because I think advice is really easy to give, and unless you're in the body of the being, it can self-aggrandize yourself and not necessarily serve. So I'm just going to share my vibe as opposed to advise. And I would say this: the first part of your question was actor, director. There were multiple things that you said. Should I be? And my question is that you're a theater maker, so you have to be all of them. There is no one job for life in the 21st century, certainly not in the second decade of the 21st century. You're going to have to be anti-disciplinary. Others might call it multidisciplinary. I call it anti-disciplinary. You find the idea, and that idea then finds the genre or the discipline that it best fits in, and you become a master mistress of those. An idea might be a podcast. You go, great, that's going to be a podcast. The other idea might be a documentary, and you go, great, that's a documentary, etc., etc., etc. So my answer to that is be everything that you feel you have the talent to be. You're going to need to do it to economically survive. How do you bring work back to your land of birth? Well, what you do is you analyze what, in my opinion, you analyze what the needs are, and then how you can serve those needs through art. And that might be, again, it might be through theater, it might be through television, it might be through music. And then you try and find yourself in the environment where you're surrounded by those who can help facilitate your dream and your ambition. So if it's a theater company, how many people around you are good actors, technicians, and producers? If you have an idea about film, who has a natural talent for it? Who is a screenwriter? Who's the director? Surround yourself with the infrastructure, the personal infrastructure, to allow you to fulfill your potential in each of those areas, and then serve the need that you have identified. Sometimes that need is the need to just laugh. I love seeing my audiences leave my theater laughing. And actually, that's an act of God, man, that time that they came in, who knows what happened in their day, and they left smiling. I worked on their spirit. So I go, cool. Who's the best comedy writer that I can dance with right now? Work out what your people need, what your community needs, and then try and give it to them.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
Who else has got yeah, so Jacob has got a question.
I just wanted to know who are the people you stuck with when you was growing up in this sort of career? Who were the people you decided to mix with? Did you stick with friends and family a lot during this time, or was you more individual?
What a fantastic question, Jacob. One that I have never been asked before, but one that I think is very, very, very pertinent to young people. Family for me. Family is everything. And the people, and it speaks a little bit to what I was saying to Tomas, that my brother and my cousin, we all shared the same ambitions and the same goals. And so we hung together hard. And we are grown men 4 decades on. And really the people that I most wish to hang with is my brother Paul and my cousin Rodney. So that's really important. I have made very few huge friends in my time in show business, because I think that it can be a very fickle world. But again, it comes back to something that I said to Tomas, which is that find yourself in the environment where those who are like you are around you, that you are gravitating to those who share your dreams. And here's just a little example of this for me in my own personal life. I wanted to be a singer, right? And so when my friends at 13 and 14 started to smoke, right? And it's natural to want to be like your mates. Is that I went, if I smoke, that might dry my throat. And in drying my throat, I may not be able to sing. And if I can't sing, then I won't have my dreams. And so while all my peers were doing one thing, I had something deep in me that allowed me to choose to not do it. Not out of morals, but selfishly just going, bro, you know what? The smoking, my lungs, it's not going to work. And the people around me then were the people who didn't go, you're a wuss. But the people who went, yeah, bruv, because I too want to be, maybe I could smoke, but I want to be a dancer. So actually, doing extra things that might damage my ligaments is maybe not the thing that I'm going to do. So it's a brilliant question. Surround yourself with echoes of yourself and echoes of those who are better than you. That would be my answer.
Great, thank you. Javon.
Yeah, first of all, very nice to meet you. You said very inspiring things that have actually inspired me. So thank you for that. This is actually two questions in one. So the first one would be, as a director, what do you look for in an actor? And what can you say to those actors that go to those auditions? What can they know what to bring to the table?
Brilliant questions again, Javon. Thank you for your kind greeting to me. I'm going to say two things. One, I look for only one thing in an actor: truth. I'm going to say it again. I look for only one thing in an actor: truth. Sometimes something can be really, that line in a play can be really terrible, hard, and haunting. But if the actor tells it with truth, we laugh at recognition. We literally find ourselves like, oh my God, that's so true. Even if it's hard to take. Why? Because they struck truth. For me as an actor, at my best, I was only ever good. And the reason why I was only ever good is because I was a very intellectual actor. I was a very mechanical actor. Every single scene that I did on anything, I could tell you what I did at any point, from my eyes to my arms to my, what you call it, I controlled everything. Which that was my way of pursuing truth. Right now, I'm able to work with actors who, at their worst, are good, and at their best, are inspirational. Why? Because it's organic. They have used the tools that they have learned in drama school to blend into themselves so that it is just truth is what they look out for. So I can't echo that enough. The other thing that I look for, the other thing that I think that an actor always has to know when they're walking into a rehearsal room is that you have the power. I know it sounds crazy, but I've been auditioning for 4 hours now. I really want the next person to come in to be the person I want to give the job to. Why? Because then it means that my vision is closer to coming true. So there is a moment when you walk into the room, which is actually, I may be their dream come true. I may not, and I may get to the end and not be that version of that truth that they want. So make sure you walk into the room knowing that you hold the power, that you hold some power in that environment, and be yourself.
Yeah, really appreciate that.
Thank you, Kwame. In fact, some of our students have been doing Q&As with some other actors, and recently they spoke to Katie Stevens from the RSC, and she said a very, very similar thing about going into auditions and just holding that work for yourself and holding that power to your own. So I think it resonates really, really strongly. Matthew, we've got a question from Matthew.
Oh God. Hey, it's a pleasure to have you here, by the way, first of all. I'm just nervous asking questions, but I guess what I want to ask is, I've been with this college for, this is my 5th year. And in the last year, this year, I've been trying to deal with a new challenge, which is having to watch all my friends being very defined and unique. And then, I suppose, doubting myself, as I see myself as a very normal guy. I don't think I'm the most exciting, or I suppose that translated to, I'm not sure how to keep myself, trying to find words. How do I make it so that I am wanted in the industry?
Wow.
So first of all, what's your discipline, Matthew?
How you mean?
What's your primary discipline? Acting, writing?
Acting.
Okay, good. Do you know the actor Keanu Reeves?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the actor Tom Cruise?
Yes.
They've made careers out of being really, really quite the guy next door. The guy that you may not look at and go, hey, you are wildly individualistic with different kind of hair and piercings and blah, blah, blah. And oh my God, they have made brilliant careers out of understanding that we as actors do not just reflect the extraordinary, but that we reflect the ordinary too. And truth, the truth that most of us, most of the time, sits not in the extraordinary, but the ordinary. Means that people who feel that that's their market actually have the largest market of all. And so I would say that you should use your self-doubt to be part of what your identity is right now, because we all have self-doubt. And you should use your sense of possible isolation. And I say possible because I don't know that to be true. To be part of your unique selling point. And you should use your possible insecurity to come through your eyes when you read text. In the way that you asked this question, the way you asked it, and I feel a little, I don't know, I feel a little weird asking it even. And I saw your spirit. And ultimately, as an actor, you are selling truth. And the engine for that truth is your body, is your voice, your eyes. And so don't feel ordinary, Matthew. Feel part of the majority. And know that if you hone your tools to reflect them really, really well, the world is your oyster.
Thank you very much.
The answer, your answer there reminds me of that Tom Stoppard quote, we're actors, we're not normal people. We've got another question from Jacob's room, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So this time we've got Johan.
Johan.
First of all, thank you for your time with us. And as you talked earlier about community, nation, and even world, I found it interesting to know what is the issue in the community and nation and even the world that is linked to your art and work that you're most concerned about.
Thank you. A rather wonderful question. I am most concerned right now about our lack of trust. Trust in institutions, trust in politicians, trust in the police, trust in science. I could go on. And what happens to a people's or community or a nation that has no one to trust? If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And we can see how rampant conspiracy theories are ravaging our communities. And it's because we don't trust in anything anymore. And so therefore we look and we try and find the hole. We try and take the emperor's clothes off, not put the clothes on, because we don't trust anything anymore. I care about trust. I care about communities being able to trust that someone is out there that cares about them and that looks after their best interests. And no matter how flawed they are, that collectively we are striving to make everybody's life just a little bit better. The lack of trust is the thing that most disturbs me. And the work that I do in theatre is about bringing people together so they can congregate and vibrate on the sermon of the day, and then take that home and think about it. But what did they do? They did it together.
Thank you, Kwame. Thank you, Kwame. And I think that's a really moment to finish on. We're up to the hour now. And again, I just want to thank you for giving your time. It's been an absolute privilege listening to you, and it's been I'm sure the students will agree with me that it's been inspirational hearing you talk this morning directly to us privately. And it feels like we've got a little bit of you with us this morning, and it's really we really value that. This isn't the end of something. Obviously, it's very much the beginning of something, and that's also a wonderful celebration to have this morning together, going forward. And we literally cannot wait to welcome you here in person to us and have some time together here, whether it's watching something or doing something together. We don't know yet, but we can't wait for that moment to come. So thank you again. And I'm sure after perhaps you'll finish off by saying something to us and then open up your mics and say goodbye.
First of all, Robert, again, I want to thank you for your advocacy for these young people. Your passion and your dedication to them was so clear. It was in every syllable that I read. So I want to congratulate you for serving in that way. I too so look forward to being able to come and share space with you, to see you all in 3-dimension, to bore you with some more stories, but most importantly, to be inspired by whatever it is that you want to put in my mind. So I know it's first or second day back in space, and I just want to say yay to people being together, and be, Godspeed. Learn all the tools, pick up all the tools you can, then go out and serve. Thank you.
Thank you. If you want to open up your mic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Bless. I'm out. West London.
Alpha represent.
West side. Woo.
There he goes.
And he's gone.
Oh, and the people are dropping like flies. Jesus.
Oh, jeez.
And they go.
Has Rob gone too?
I think so, yeah. Oh, no, he's not. He's still there.
No, it's the other Rob.
Yeah.
Oh, God's sake.
Well, bye.
All right, yeah.
Bye-bye.
Sorry, I didn't get to ask a question, Romario.
Goodbye.